Hi, I'm Jeff Kenton. I've had a 25 plus year career in post secondary education. More than 20 of those years have been in academia, and 7 of those years were in administration. These stories come to mind in light of recent and related events, and I hope you enjoy them. Here's an email I received this morning. It was sent yesterday afternoon from the dean of the college, indicating that our online master's programs in education had done really well on a recent U.S. News and World Report survey. So let's take a look at the press release from the college or from the university. It indicates that TU's College of Education ranked number 46 in the best online master in education program, 45 spots higher than its 2021 ranking, and the only, see this is the important one, the only Maryland university in the top 100. All right, so why did this anecdote reach the top of the list? As time goes along with these stories, you'll get a fuller view of how all the pieces fit together. But from 2009 until 2016, I was in the dean's office as the assistant dean. And among my responsibilities then was to fill out this U.S. News and World Report survey every year. And the survey requested information about the nature of our programs, how many students were enrolled, the nature of the faculty members who teach in the program, the number and nature of the students who are enrolled part-time and full-time, and so on, including things like how much grant-based fund support and other types of support the college and the program receives every year. Now, when I started in 2009, the prior assistant dean had this responsibility and had told me that whether I filled it out or not was optional. I figured that I wanted to continue doing it because it seemed like harmless. What harm could it do to fill out the survey every year? I mean, it had been in previous years, so why wouldn't I continue? And she handed me several 3-inch thick 3-ring binders with all of the information that was used to compile the answers that were provided on each year's survey. Now, little did I know, and this is where the naivete of my early years of my administrative career showed through, I didn't realize that the ranking on these surveys could be politically important. Politically in the sense of making a case that programs deserve to receive more resources, or that they provide an easy way to show a very positive perspective on the college, the program, and the university, and so on and so on and so on. And so having one guy, that was me, in the College of Education filling out this survey on behalf of the graduate programs in the college, and by proxy also representing the university in this way, there were some folks who were a little surprised at the rankings. I came to Towson from a larger program with full-time graduate students, and I myself was a full-time graduate student that had a stipend, an honorarium, a teaching assistantship, or whatever you want to call it. And Towson, at the time that I was in the dean's office, didn't have that. And so when the ranking came through and we were right around, I don't know, 113th out of 270 or whatever the number was, we were above the halfway point, and I figured that seemed fair, so I didn't look into it any further. Well, as I said, these survey results are fairly political. People in the administrative office want to be able to say nice things about the university when they go out to meet with the folks who are in their hierarchy. They're like the chancellor of the university system or the governor of the state, and also their peers when they have peer interactions with other university presidents or provosts and so forth, and being able to point to something that's published and say, hey, look, our rankings are really good. Well, some folks who were in that situation saw the survey rankings and thought that it was odd that our programs in education, which were the largest in the state, should lag behind in any way of programs at other institutions. Now, one thing about the surveys is that they put a fairly high emphasis on national external grant funding, having full-time graduate students, having professors who had a profile of hiring assistantships, hiring graduate students as assistants in their program, whatever it was. And our program, as I said, didn't have that at the time. And so I saw in the published methodology that U.S. News and World Report provided that our program was, what's the right word? The judicious word. Programs like the ones that we had at Towson were undervalued with relation to other programs where, for example, there are full-time graduate students, or where there are large volumes of external grant money. And looking at the state of Maryland, we have a couple of institutions that are chock-a-block with that kind of resource. And those two were the ones that ranked higher than us on the survey. And being an earnest person, I met with one of the representatives from the administrative office and explained how the survey was organized, how the methodology worked, and presented the truth about our programs. Here is the nature of our faculty. Here is the volume of research money. This is the number of full-time graduate students. This is the number of assistantships, and so on and so on. And painted a picture that was trying to identify that the number that we got, I thought, was relatively fair, that my goal was, if possible, to get us into the top 100, given that the desired profile of the survey is a different kind of program than the one that we have in Towson's College of Education at the time. So, a couple of days after that meeting, I was told in no uncertain terms that I would be assisted in filling out the survey to make sure that I wasn't missing any crucial information. And as it turned out, and I'll be fair to myself, I did a very complete job of grabbing the stuff that was publicly available. But what really turned the balance for surveys was having access to some information that wasn't necessarily public, but was what's the right word? I mean, it's not, information is there, but it was, for example, a grant that comes from the National Science Foundation, that's public, fully public. NSF would disclose who had won each of the grants and how much the grants were, and it's really straightforward to say what was happening and who got what. But there are other types of funding that come to a university, and some of those come from what are called private entities or private organizations. And these are things like endowed chair positions. If there's a naming relationship where a person agrees to give a bulk of money to the university in exchange for naming a college or a program or a classroom or something after a particular person, all of that money was technically eligible to be included in our survey response. And I wasn't collecting that because some of those things didn't seem like they were relevant to what we were doing. But I was told that I would be assisted. And so I was still responsible for submitting the survey, but the information that was provided included a bulk of information that was provided by this person who was going to assist me. And after including that information, and in the first year it was just really including the private sources of funding, our ranking went from 113 or whatever it was to 99. And so I met my goal. I thought that was great. I was very proud of the fact that we cracked the top 100. But as it happens, then the folks who assisted me thought that we could do yet better because we still lagged behind these other institutions whose programs weren't as big as ours, didn't have the same profile as far as historical excellence. They were just larger, had better funding, had more full-time graduate students, and so forth. Okay, so now we're back to this. I've given some context about why I thought this was important to talk about. And so what you see is that in respect to this year's survey, we now have a program that's identified as a best online master in education program. That survey structure was not available when I filled out the survey. I think it was Best Programs in Education was the title. So there's a lot more not disambiguation, but there's a lot more drilling down. And you see the second phrase in this includes a best online master in computer information technology. So there are categories and different ways to split out that data. So anyway, I'm very proud. I mean, I'm a member now of the program, of one of the programs that's named specifically in here. Let me get to that component here. And this is the part here. Whoop. I got it. Faculty within the Department of Educational Technology and Literacy, that is of which I am one. And then a nice quote from our department chair. So, like I said, these surveys provide an excellent opportunity for the university and the college and the programs to brag a bit about themselves, then it's an easy way to say something nice about oneself and to situate a program's quality within the framework of all the programs available within the United States. Okay, well, that was the thing that caught my attention today, January 28th, 2022. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you next time.